Because funny enough, many people are actually um, in that state where they feel God tugging on their hearts, but they stay away. So when I reach out to people, I say to them, hey, you know, you don't if you're sick, you don't stay at home and say, I'm going to get well, then go to the hospital.
Amen.
You
Yep.
have to be in a hospital for the doctor to check you out, give you medication, then you're going to get better.
That's right.
Yep. So it wasn't by me being away, but I needed to be in that space. Even though I was still like trying to find my freedom, I was still messing around, I was still struggling in some areas. But that's where the Lord started to guide and order my steps. And so I began to really cry out and say, God, because of the emptiness that I was feeling, I said, well, I've tried, to do things my own way, and you need to help me. And,
Well, hello, good evening, good afternoon, good night, wherever you are. Welcome to the Lease Road Commute podcast. We are so glad that you've joined us for this episode. As always, you are with us we got Ray Belcher here. I'm the co-host, Rick Bergman, and we have a very special guest. We have Pastor Laud Allotey, right? Am I close?
More like Laud Allotey.
Allotey, man. That's right. Because when I was thinking about that, I was like, man, it's really close to elote, which is a Mexican corn around here that we like to eat. It's really good.
Yeah.
Got in your head, there was no getting it out.
It's not getting out. It's actually making me hungry.
Yeah.
Well, Pastor Laud, welcome. We're so thankful that you're here with us. Excited to hear what you've got to share with us, and know you're a busy guy and a long ways from home. So we're sure thankful to have you in Midland, Texas. So tell us a little bit about where home is and what that looks like, where it is on the map. A lot of people hear Africa and a country and not necessarily know where it is on the continent. So tell us a little bit about home.
Yeah, thanks, Ray. It's really a great privilege to spend this time with you. It's been interesting because I've been traveling quite a bit and been away from the family, but really, being very productive with the time. And so far, it's been really exciting, being with you, your family, and doing church as well. So I'm originally from Ghana. Ghana is in the western part of Africa. Well, we have this interesting thing that we say because when you look on the map, Ghana is really much close to the center, almost like the center of the earth on the map. So, well, I guess that's one of the things that you can use to find us right somewhere in the on the western coast of Africa. Lovely country, very warm. Ray, I know you were in Accra with me last year.
Yeah, got to experience it myself. Yeah,
awesome,
great
awesome.
place. Yeah.
So hopefully you get to come join us.
I know. I'm ready. I'm already excited. You're selling me on it. Warm weather.
Yep. Yeah.
Beautiful countryside. I'm sure that's the best part about living here in Midland is no matter where I travel, it impresses me.
It's an
Yeah.
I'm like, wow, this is so beautiful. Should I move here?
Yeah.
Ghana's like Houston, except awesome.
Okay.
It's a little more humid than here.
You're selling me on it.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. There's the people, the food, and then there's also lots to do. So
what's the signature dish in Ghana?
Oh man, this one is an interesting one. So I'll tell you the go-to food, which we have this ongoing, I call it a sibling rivalry.
Okay.
With Nigeria.
Okay.
Which is next door neighbor, right?
Yeah, there are two countries in between us, but it's just like a 45-minute flight from Accra to Lagos. So Jollof is this rice dish. It's prepared with like a tomato sauce, and you put them together, and that's how you prepare it. And really amazing, really lovely dish. So both nations have been trying to claim ownership and contesting for whose jollof is the best.
Yes.
So the debate, keeps going. Obviously, I will referee and give the title to Ghana. I have
no bias.
No bias at all. No bias at all.
And I can vouch for it. We at one of the dinners, I guess I could call it like a, Ghana sampler plate, and which sampling the local fare is not always recommended, depending on the facilities and and how long you've been in country at the time, but
Yes.
everything was awesome. I mean, legitimately good. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
a lot of spice over there. So it's like
Ooh.
it suits us
I love
West
spice.
Texas boys pretty well. So
Yep.
you know,
Yeah.
it's a
Yeah.
good spot.
I mean, the fight is interesting because none of us are actually the originators of of the meal,
Right.
and it's more of I think more of on Senegalese.
Mm-hmm.
If my memory serves me right, they probably have originators of the dish. So we're just having fun, and we keep competing. But my personal favorite is a dish called wache.
Okay.
Wache is it's also a rice and black-eyed peas, you call it,
Mm.
dish. And what makes it unique is the leaves with which it's made. That's like I found out recently those are actually sorghum leaves, and so it gives it this very unique taste and flavor. Yeah, amazing, amazing. You love it.
Yeah, we have something similar in New Mexico called green chili, and it makes everything better.
It's the
Ah,
magic
It
ingredient.
is. And it's funny you were talking about your feud because there's a similar feud because the state of Colorado also grows their own version of the green chili, and we both of those states fight over whose is better. And so I can
yeah.
relate. But tell us real quick, how long have you been pastoring? Kind of give us an idea of what led you to wanting to become a pastor, and a little bit about your backstory.
Yeah, so my story and journey into ministry is quite an interesting one because I I never really had that desire. Um, my my heart was really to have my own business, um, and to do missions. And this is even when I felt like God was perhaps stirring me up to something else and something more in line with ministry. And so I really defined it for myself, where in my ideal world it was going to be having a number of businesses, and then maybe twice a year going on missions. Where I'm from, in Africa generally, we don't do one thing. So even if you have like a job, say an office, you probably have like a business on the side. And if you have one business, you probably have, one or two others that you're managing.
Is
So
that just like a cultural thing, or is it just to help increase income?
yeah, I mean that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's to help increase income
Is it
because
needed to maintain a like fundamental state of kind of living, or is it like there's so much opportunity that you just want to go snatch a part of it?
it's a bit of both.
Okay.
So one is the main is out of necessity, because even if you are earning an income, it's not enough to cover like you know all your
Sure.
needs necessarily.
Sure.
And so your necessity is placed on you, therefore, to then have like other means of income. um and then there's also the opportunity, so you have to look around and try to be discerning and say, okay, what does my community offer, or what is available to me, and how can I then make something out of the raw materials or
Sure.
the opportunities that are around me. And that goes for most people.
Sounds like the
So-
American dream.
Yep.
Well, yes, except we are in that stage where we are not very industrial,
Yep.
or we don't have a strong manufacturing base. So and most businesses are run by individuals. We've not gotten to the stage where there are like huge partnerships and collaborations, and also um access to funding is sometimes a thing. So businesses are generally not scaled to the fullness of their potential. So
Sure.
yeah, you might have a shop, and there's a possibility of maybe having a number of those around the city or around the country, but um without the access to funding, you might just have
Yeah.
to
Limited by capital.
manage
Yeah.
that particular
Yeah.
one.
So you're in that spot where you're you're feeling like you want to go be a businessman, start a few businesses. You feel a little call in your life to maybe do something a little differently, and you're in that kind of tug of war where you're debating with yourself and debating if you're hearing God clearly, that maybe life looks differently than what you had drawn up on your own.
Yeah.
So when you find yourself in that spot, where are you going from there?
Yeah. So I mean, because I wasn't. I always say to my team, and because we reach out to mainly a young group of people, sometimes people might look at me as a pastor and think that I've always been like this. So I always try to remind them I wasn't born a pastor. So I have my years, which we refer generally sometimes refer to as the BC years, the before Christ years. My
We all have
time
those. Yeah.
my time as a young person, and also in college, really very far away from God. And I knew God was always present, but I just wanted to do my own thing. And my 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 plan was, okay, God, you hang on, let me have fun, and then when I'm ready, I'll come.
Mm.
Um, just about a couple of years after I was done with college, started to work, and there were opportunities for me to keep rising, whether I was going to be in the same field that I was in or even divert. I remember my boss looking at me I think I was about 22 or 23 at that age, and we were coming from this very high level meeting, and we sat in the car, we were just so pumped with energy.
Mm.
And he looked at me and he said, "How old are you?" I said, 22. And he said, "Oh, you're gonna be a very wealthy guy if you are here in these, like, rooms at this age, you know." And that was really what I was aiming for, gunning
Sure.
for. And um but the emptiness started to set in, started to feel like, there's something else that I'm called to. And I've been running away from the Lord for years, and started to go back to church. It wasn't without struggle, because I was still under a lot of guilt and condemnation,
Mm-hmm.
and the enemy was using that to keep me from church, because
Yep.
my thoughts were always that, I don't want to be hypocrites. I'm not like these people, like, they love God, they're serving God. I'm still like a sinner. I'm still, doing things I shouldn't be doing.
Mm.
And so let me stay away. And hopefully when I get it right, or when I'm in a better state, I can go to church, which has actually now become a good um, tool for me to use to reach out to people. Because funny enough, many people are actually um, in that state where they feel God tugging on their hearts, but they stay away. So usually when I reach out to people, I say to them, hey, you don't, if you're sick, you don't stay at home and say, I'm going to get well, then go to the hospital.
Amen.
You
Yep.
have to be in a hospital for the doctor to check you out, give you medication, then you're going to get better.
That's right.
So it wasn't by me being away, but I needed to be in that space. Even though I was still like trying to find my freedom, I was still messing around, still struggling
Mm-hmm.
in some areas. But that's where the Lord started to guide and order my steps. And so I began to really cry out and say, God, because of the emptiness that I was feeling, I said, well, I've tried, to do things my own way, and you need to help me.
Mm.
And so it's being like in a place of total surrender and asking God, what have you called me to? What do you want me to do? What am I here for? And that's one of the first things I heard him say was to get married, which was like totally ridiculous, because that was not on my table at all. Then
Before you move on there, because I know that's going to change the story a little bit, did you have like a rock bottom moment where you're in your kitchen, feeling like everything's failing around you, and it's like, okay, I'll finally submit to what I feel like I'm being told to do? Or was it just kind of this slowly over time revelation that you're just like, I want more than what this is? Like, I think a lot of times we have this picture of this epiphany moment where God audibly speaks and changes your life, and it's not that way for everybody. Sometimes it happens more gradually or slowly. Which one of those was it for you?
yeah, so the interesting thing was, my faith journey, in actual fact, when I look back, I see that God had been working on me from when I was a kid.
Mm. Mm.
And so it's almost like he had his hand on me and the circumstances of life. Like one of the key persons in my life was my mom. And when my mom passed away, then like I went haywire. Right.
Sure.
I think before, Africa is a very communal place, and so I had aunties and uncles and cousins playing a key role. My sister, older sister, all played a key role in my upbringing. But before then, I looked like a normal kid,
Sure.
but there was stuff that was going on inside of me, and especially when I would go to school. So I guess when I look back, I always see that God had been, working on my heart. And in fact, I always say that he kept me from, perhaps by his own mercies, just kept me from going like haywire.
Mm-hmm.
Because even when I was like deep in sin, and there were things that I just could not do.
Sure.
Like I'd go all the way, but I wouldn't, like go perhaps over the ledge, if
Sure.
if I should put it
Sure.
that way. So the it was a gradual process, but at the same time, not say just one day where I came to that place, or an incident, but it's just like, and I really don't know how to explain it, but it's like this emptiness. It's like, okay, what is all this for?
Well, I kind of love that, because I think a lot of times, like, I know you've heard it. We've probably all heard somebody say, "Well, I don't have a testimony to share." And it's like, if God's in your life and you've accepted Him, then you have a testimony. It doesn't have to be the earth shattering, this lightning bolt moment. It can be something gradual, like what yours was, and have the same result. And so I just wanted you to share that, because I think it's encouraging to folks that may not have that
Yeah.
big fancy story that is life altering, and it's still ultimately just as effective, and powerful.
No, what you said was reminding me a lot of kind of my testimony, because like I had accepted Christ into my life in like the third grade during vacation Bible school, right? And so, but the thing was, like, I didn't like, my dad didn't go to church. He wasn't interested in church. None of that. Like my mom drugged me to church, and I'm like, looking back now, I'm so thankful, even though I was a complete heathen. I remember coming home and getting uh spanked from not listening very good in some of those times. But it's good to hear that, because I feel like sometimes, you can hear somebody's testimony. It's like Ray said, it's like all of a sudden they got hit while they were driving down the road and had to pull over, and God changed their life. Then mine was nothing like that. It was just like, I remember I was very similar. I was like, God, I just want to do my own thing for a little bit, and which I did. And I remember it was like that same like creeping like loneliness. Even though like had Jesus, like I had strayed so far from him, and not even from like on like an extreme. It just had been so long that I'd been walking the opposite direction. It ended up being really far away.
Yeah.
And I just kind of remember I went on a retreat like my first semester of college, and I just remember rolling my eyes and be like, all right, I guess I'll turn this thing around. Like it wasn't like emotional. It wasn't
Yeah.
it wasn't anything like that. It's just like um I felt like God was like, when are you gonna grow up? Like it was kind of what it was. And it wasn't necessarily a crystallizing moment, as it was like I've just like felt this responsibility that I wasn't walking in,
Mm-hmm.
and decided like, okay, well, if I don't walk in this responsibility that I feel like God's put in my life, like things are just not going to go
You're
well,
gonna
because
miss some things.
I'm going to miss things. I'm going to miss opportunities,
Mhm.
and not because it's for those opportunities, but because I know, what God has planned for me is so much more fulfilling, even though it's hard, because
Yeah.
it's much harder than doing my own thing. In the end, it would be harder on me if I didn't do what God wanted.
Yeah.
So I'm glad you shared that.
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
All right, so picking back up, God tells you to get married. What's that look like?
Yeah. And so it's all coming together at this point. It's like trying to find my life, make meaning out of, what God has given me, purpose and all that. Um, and I, my very good friend, his sister is in town, and because we were very good friends, I was spending a lot of time in their place, sleeping over and all that, um, and his mom, all of his siblings, really good friends. It's about his sister, who was out of the country then. She was actually studying in the US,
Mm-hmm.
and she moved back to Ghana, and so it was almost like a natural progression, having or knowing all of them, getting to meet her and know her as well. We
Right.
met a long time ago when she would probably remember exactly when, but I was still in school then, and we met. I'd come off campus with a couple of friends. We're visiting this nightclub, and she was with her brother. She was visiting Accra, and so her brother introduces her to me and said, "Ah, that's my sister." And so we met, you know, we danced, and then that was it,
Right.
And so she went back to the States.
Mhm.
So years later now, she's actually relocated back to Ghana, and that's how we conversation and then relationship started. It was a bit awkward, at the beginning, because that's my really really good friend.
Yeah.
So it's like, this could go like really
Uh-huh.
well, or this could go really bad. So I
bad,
remember
yeah.
saying to her, you know what, um
And how old
I-
were you at the time?
this was 20, still in my 20s. I think this is probably 24 thereabouts. Yeah.
Yep.
24 thereabouts. So I say to her, if we go out, I said to her, I don't date, which is actually true, because it was something that I was doing when I was, just trying to keep the ladies away. And I'll say to them that I don't date. Now, if we did go out, though, it would have to, lead to something more substantive, like
Mhm.
marriage. And so I thought that would freak her out, but turns out she was way crazier than I was. So-
It's funny you say that. I had a mentor early on, and he gave me some really great advice. He said all dating is practicing for divorce.
Mhm.
He said if your intentions are to marry that girl
Yeah.
from date number one, like
yeah,
you're already setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
And so I scared off several girls
yeah,
on the first date, which actually saved me a ton of pain, saved them a ton of pain, and it was like I'm so grateful looking back, even though I thought that guy was crazy
I told
when he first
Lacey.
told me that.
I told Lacey the night we met that I was looking for a wife.
yeah,
So I think you have that set of lenses. It's either gonna make them run for the hills, or they dig into.
yeah. And I guess we will have to, make sure we come back. But I, because of what I do, I always say to, the ladies that, what, a guy knows.
Mm.
So don't waste your time. Don't let the guys waste your time.
Mm-hmm.
Because if he's not going to marry, or if he doesn't think you're marriage material, he won't waste his time.
Yeah.
And so don't let him waste your time,
Yeah,
because
don't settle.
yeah, don't settle, and unfortunately, many young ladies let the guys like take so much time
Mhm.
either making a decision, and most of the time that does not end well. So but I think having that mindset forced me to really look at her
Yeah.
and say, okay, is this someone I can be with? And because of the friendship dynamic as well, I was speaking about, because I didn't want to waste her time. Like,
Sure.
I know someone, very close to me, who was in a relationship like that, and then the guy wasted her time for years.
Mhm.
Like, I'm talking 7 years thereabout. So it's something I always decided I wouldn't do to someone.
Sure.
If I'm not interested, I will not want them to hang around and just waste their years. So yeah, so that helped. And I was, you know going to church now, and so she was in the country. She said that she was looking for a church to go to, and so she would come with me to church, and the friendship just kind of like progressed. Like I said, it was a bit awkward, because sometimes we go out on dates, and so everybody at some point started to
Put
wonder, it's
two
like,
and two
what's
together.
going on?
Yeah. Not as
Like,
sneaky as you thought.
yeah, but I guess, as they say, all is well that ends well. My wife is a really great person. she's a friend, and that was something I was always looking out for.
Mhm.
I always wanted someone who would aside everything, aside the physical looks, and I was really attracted to it.
Mhm.
Um, but for me, that wasn't like the priority. Because it's just a friend, and
Mhm.
this, if everything else, we lose everything,
Yeah.
can I still be with this person?
That's right.
And she's that kind of person. We've grown even closer with the years. Beautiful, very active. She's more the flowery. I'm more of the intense, and
Yeah.
yeah, she has a vibrant personality. So it was
Awesome.
a great fall to myself.
And
And
I will say, having gotten to witness it in action and watch you guys complement each other with, what she handles versus what you handle. You have a great family, and there's it's not just words, but you got evidence that shows that it's working. So want to
Yeah.
encourage you with that because you got a great wife and kiddos. So
thank you.
yeah, man.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I want to expand on that just a little bit. If there was, say there's a guy that's listening to this right now and he's either just started dating or he's looking to potentially date, what advice would you give him to kind of, not only set himself up to be a suitable mate, but what should he look for in a potential wife?
Oh, yeah, that's a good one. Guys are more of the easier and simple creatures.
Mhm.
We're very easygoing. We know what we want.
Mhm.
Very simple in that sense. Ladies, a bit more
One more
complex.
complicated.
And I think for me, like I mentioned earlier, friendship is one of the key
Mhm.
things, because the reason I put friendship first is because it's actually played out. I always had this thought. I was like, okay, if I didn't have anything, if things went so bad, right? And I mean, don't get me wrong. I was very ambitious. I was, going for the big bucks, but I always thought, okay, I want to be with someone who would stick around
Mhm.
when things are not so great,
So
right?
good.
Yeah,
And so
because those feelings of love leave.
they leave.
They leave.
Well,
There are times where, yeah,
feelings lie to you.
Yeah.
And if you wait until you feel like being nice to your wife or whatever, I mean, we had we had a mentor that said the same thing. Like, really, if you can picture that person in the moment when they let you down the most, if you can still love them, and I'm not talking about physical violence or
yeah,
something that's dangerous, but um, you know, a business that in my own life, I've let my wife down having a business that fell on its face and having to go, kind of level up, and be like, here's where we're at. In that moment, does she still love me? And I found that answer to be yes, and then excuse me, anytime she's let me down, it's the same type of deal. So I think, like, not to put a complete downer on it, but it's like, if you can get a few dates into something and look at that individual and say, you know, my love is not conditional, so to speak, but you love like Jesus, and you have that set of lenses that you're like, in just our worst day, what
yeah,
does that look like?
yeah,
And if you can still picture yourself, loving that person, then you kind of know,
yeah, yeah.
But I think it's a good barometer or a good
Yeah.
test for litmus test for it too.
I agree. Agreed. And I mean, not to say, um, like looks are not important.
Mm-hmm.
I think for the individual they are. So who do you find attractive? And if she's attractive to you, um, then you go for it. Not necessarily the way women are commercialized
Sure.
and presented to us, but what do you find attractive?
Mhm.
And so one of the things I liked then about my wife is that she should not wear makeup all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I love that because I could see, you know, how she actually looked. For me, that was important.
Yep.
And so that when she would then dress up, she'd like, ooh, wow, this is like, she's looking like extra
Yeah.
amazing. I mean, she
Yeah.
is beautiful without makeup, right? And then when she would make up, it's like, whoa. It's like I remember on our wedding day, I was like, wow, she looked gorgeous. And every time that she would actually dress up, it's the same. It's the same
Sure.
feeling. So it's not to say that, because for guys, the looks are important. We
Sure.
shouldn't downplay that as well. Um, so friendship, attraction must be there because you're not marrying your sister.
Yeah. Yeah.
It
You're
has to
marrying
be
your
there.
best buddy's sister.
Yeah.
So.
And if you wanna know what to look for physically, just go read the Song of Solomon, and he'll
That's
tell you
right.
all about it.
That's right.
Yeah. There needs to be some fire in the relationship.
Sure.
So, and I think that in assessing, you need to not be not neglect the red flags. I think
Mhm.
a lot of people do that where they're with someone and they see things that they can't compromise on. So my wife and I say this to couples when we're either counseling them or just getting to know them, that hey, what are your deal breakers?
Mm.
Um, you want a lady who works out because maybe you work out. You want someone to go to the gym with you. On a scale of 0 to 10, how much is that of a big deal to you? Right. So let's say a guy scales that as 10 because his dream woman is someone who works out with him.
Mhm.
So you meet this lady and she doesn't necessarily work out. And so she says, "Hey, bro, that's not really, the gym is not really my thing.
Mhm.
I do my workout in the kitchen." And but you're hell bent on and you're thinking that you're going to change her.
Sure.
And you marry this lady. Now what you've done is you've just burdened her because the rest of the marriage, this guy will just be complaining.
Mhm.
You're not like this, you're not like that, and you'll be comparing her and all that. So if you can't compromise, then you shouldn't continue with a relationship. However, if it's something that you can compromise on, so for example, you want someone to travel with you, and you whether you're a lady or a guy, and you're like, okay, well, I don't really like traveling. The US is big enough for me. I need to travel in a lifetime. And you're thinking, okay, maybe I'll do 2 trips a year.
Mhm.
And this lady's like, hey, well, 2 trips a year is a bit too much for me, but I could do one. So she's saying she can compromise.
Sure.
Now, will you be okay then to do 1 trip a year with her? And if you're okay with that, then that relationship would work. So what are your deal breakers? Scale them and don't try to force it.
Mhm.
If it won't work, if you can't compromise, then
And that's an exercise that you physically do on paper with people.
you have to.
Yeah.
You have to.
I
The
like
other
that.
one is expectations as well.
Mhm.
Actually quite related, and this is something that most people don't do. You have an expectation that she's going to cook for you,
Mhm.
right? And let's say maybe she cooks, but she's also a corporate. She's also working
Yeah.
8 to 5.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, she cooks. She starts cooking for you before at the early stage before you're married, or even as you get married. Now, when kids come in, she might not be able to cook all the time. So, are you okay then with cooking or maybe eating out? And if you say you're the kind of guy who you can't eat out, but you always want to cook, then it's either you're cooking or you get someone to cook. But with too much of a burden to place that extra weight on the lady. So expectations, and both of you need to discuss. She also needs to share with you what her expectations are,
Mhm.
and if you can find like common ground and areas where you can compromise, then you can actually make it work. But if we don't discuss the expectations, then it makes it more difficult, going in. So it's like you really flying blind. So
Yep.
yeah.
So, Pastor Loud, I got a question for you. Besides friendship, what was the number one deal breaker next in line that you had when you were looking for a potential wife?
Whew.
I want to know Ray's too. So he's next.
That's an interesting one. I think I'll say anyone who I found was not kind
Mm.
was like like a big thing for me.
Yeah.
Pride as well.
Pride, you said?
Yeah, pride,
Mm.
and also, um, I grew up. We really didn't have much, so I I know what it's like. Um, so even if I met a lady and they were from, say, a way wealthier background, but I felt like um, they don't know how to relate with someone, or look down on others. That was definitely like a challenge for me. I think that um, being people smart was like a
Mm-hmm.
big thing. Emotionally intelligent and being able to relate to people from different
Yeah.
backgrounds.
Yeah, that kind
It's
of
like
nails
kind of
it.
like a big thing for me. Yeah.
Mhm.
That's good. Mine was I'm not gonna sit here and act like I mean, I can tell you exactly what she was wearing when she walked across the room. She had on some jeans with no pockets and pearl snap and was looking like $1,000,000, um, which was obviously important to me. But I saw something just like 2 weeks ago that said the most one of the qualities that men find most attractive in a woman is a nurturing aspect. They
Mhm.
not that they have to be weighted on hand and foot. I don't want to minimize like what that like nurturing is kind of the equivalent to a woman. Like you feel safe and you feel secure.
Yep.
Yeah.
And for the man, like I didn't have the kind of EQ to call it that when I was dating. But one of the things I loved about Lace was she was just always taking care of me, kind of,
Mhm.
and I was raised by a single mom. And so I probably wasn't intentionally, like, consciously looking for those things. But like just being a good human was really important to me.
Right.
Seeing how she
Yeah.
was with people she didn't know, how she was with waiting staff, how she was with her parents, just like how she was. It was like, yeah, that's the whole package, looking like that. And I knew instantly she was going to be a good mama. She was it, and I knew it pretty quick.
Yeah.
How about you?
Um, it's funny you mentioned not knowing what you were looking for, but you were subconsciously looking for
Mhm.
it.
Yeah.
Um, I think the big one, my wife is tremendous at this, and I'm making sure that this is on the internet forever, so I get ultimate brownie points. But no, something that she does so good that I didn't even realize I was looking for, but I was looking for, was she just has a tremendous amount of respect for me.
Mm,
And so, like, she honors me and
mm,
honors my opinion and honors, kind of my wishes. And she does a really good job of that. It wasn't until much later, we had some people come and speak at the church that I forget their names, but they wrote that book, Love and Respect. And I know that book has been pretty groundbreaking for a lot of couples because women want to be loved, men want to be respected. And that kind of like hit home with me because it's like, man, she's so good at that. And I'd also remember having conversations with other guys, and like they would tell me some stuff that their girlfriends were doing, and I was like, they were like belittling them in public. They were talking bad about them behind their back, and I was like, those are not honorable traits. And they're not honoring you, and I would not stay with that girl.
Well, I will say too, just because the audience doesn't have visibility to your marriage, that I've got a little bit insight on, is anytime I ask you to go do something, like, you reciprocate that really well. Anytime I ask you, like, hey, you guys want to do this or do that, you're like, yeah, let me check with mom and I'll get back to you.
Yep.
It's not like you're sitting on a throne and she comes and shines your boots every day.
Right.
Yeah.
Type of
No.
respect and honor. It's mutual, and
Mhm.
you guys do a really good job of that.
Yeah, I think that the church word for it is, being equally yoked.
That's
Make
right.
sure that
Yeah.
you're both
Yeah.
heading. You might not be in the same exact spot, like especially because I've talked to several men who they're dating somebody, but they might not be as far ahead spiritually mature. But a mentor of mine said being equally yoked isn't always being at the same place. It's going the same at the same pace.
Mhm.
So
That's
it's like,
good.
as long as somebody you're dating is working towards that at the same rate that you are, like, you're yoked on it.
Yeah, I love that.
And so I felt like she was equally yoked with me in so many different ways. That's a church word again, but it's basically saying, like, she's willing to go at the same pace. She's willing to, I'm an entrepreneur. She's willing to take risk, which is,
Yeah.
that's not always an attribute.
Mhm.
And so, she was just willing to go where I was wanting to go. And it was just like, By the way, we dated for 4 months before I was like, I better lock
Yeah.
this down.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's smart. I mean, you brought up perhaps one of the key, considerations for guys as well, which is respect and honor. And I can similar with my wife, just that very honoring, woman.
Hmm.
Agnes would, if the scripture says that Sarah called Abraham Lord, and she's like literally taking that, you know, up and demonstrates that honor. And
Mm.
so similar to you, whether it's in public or even at home, it's made our relationship healthier. And she's the more magnanimous person, which was very key for us, because when we would have conflict,
Mm.
um, she was very helpful, and I learned so much from her. And over time, so that we didn't stay in a place of conflict for too long, because she would always look for us to like resolve that. And so I guess we could add that as well. And even when we go to the Bible, we see that men love your wives,
Mhm.
right? And wives respect or honor your husbands.
Yep.
Both are to submit to each other, Paul says. But I think that together, as they submit, to honor, to respect, to love each other, and the roles are defined in that way. Um, for the guys especially, if you're with a lady who is not honoring and who is not respectful, it's a big challenge.
Hmm.
I guess on the lady side as well, if women don't feel, that there's a man who loves me and who can protect me and who can provide for me, then it becomes even more
Hmm.
more difficult. Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Pastor Ladd, something I wanted to dig into a little more was, the idea of working really hard for something and not getting the result that you're after is not unique to ministry or the oil field or the music industry or wherever, whatever you find yourself in. Whenever what you see with your eyes isn't getting what you had in your head, how do you go about navigating that and walking through that in a way that gets maybe the result that you're after while you're honoring God along the way?
So Ray, I think that when I at least process faith and our journey with God, which I refer as like a journey of faith,
Hmm.
um, we are not required to see with our own eyes. Like literally, you have to give up your eyes
Mm.
and then start to perceive life, your own life, life of your family, everything else you are called to, through the eyes of God.
Mm.
So we walk by faith and not by sight. We
Mhm.
not by just what we perceive and what we think is good, but we have to look at it through God's eyes and God's lens. And so then He starts to direct us and lead us and guide us with His eyes. So it's us keeping track with Him. You look to Him, and then He directs you. So He says, "I will instruct you with my eyes." Right. So he you look at Him, and then He points. It's like where He looks is where you look. And so when we just perceive with our senses what we think is logical, we will end up in a place of conflict.
Hmm.
But if God is leading, God is guiding us, yes, there'll be again challenges, difficulties, but some way, somehow, He will navigate us through those difficulties and challenges.
The encouragement I take from your your testimony there and the scriptures you shared. I love Abraham story as well, and there's, like you said, the ups and downs and the ups and downs. That's life. It's a great parallel for our own lives. But what you see so often with your eyes does not reconcile with what you believe to be true.
Mm,
And the sooner you can kind of get comfortable with the uncomfortable of that being the reality that is, like, and to be, the first thing you said was your faith.
Yeah.
Like your faith gets you through I literally have no idea how people navigate this life
yeah.
with no belief system.
Yeah.
Like it's so incredibly difficult. And my foundations are set. I have a wife that loves me. I have friends around me that, take care of me and will call me out and pray for me and love me, when I don't deserve it.
Yep.
When people don't have those things, man, it's just really tough. And so, my encouragement that I take from that is that, if you find yourself out alone and you are isolated and you don't have anybody, you don't have the circumstances that I just described, and maybe on top of that your wife has hurt you, she's left you, your friends have let you down, your family life isn't good. The one thing you can turn to is your faith, and even if that doesn't exist, then telling God, I don't know where to start. I've got buddies that their testimony is literally that.
Yeah.
That is, if you're real, and the Bible says not to put God to the test, but if you're reaching out to him and crying out, he's going to answer.
Yeah.
And man, that's such an encouraging word, because I think it's not unique to ministry, it's not unique to business, it is life.
Yeah.
If you have 100 people in your phone and you call every one of them, they're all going to have moments where they relate to that exactly what you just described.
I mean, really, that's excellent. Like, really, that's like I did not know that walking with God meant that God was going to allow me to fail.
Oh, that's good.
Yep.
You're a pastor, so everything's going to be great.
It's going to be great. Like, I mean,
Yep.
if there's anybody who wants to do God's will, Lord, that's me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's going to be great. It has to be great. But I did not know that God was going to let me fail, not once, not twice, countless times.
That's right.
And I think that that is because it is not the journey that he's interested in. It's not the destination that he's interested in. It is you, the person.
That's right.
And until he can get you to be thinking more like him, to be looking more like him, we're going to play this again.
Well, Pastor Daniel yesterday, sorry to interrupt you. Pastor Daniel yesterday said that God isn't interested in you doing something for him. He just wants to do something with you.
Yeah.
Yep.
And like you think about your own children, that's 100% right. Hey, Daddy, can I go with you to the store? Hey, Daddy, can I go? Like, yeah, come on. It doesn't matter what it is. You're happy. They just want to hang out with you.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I think our Heavenly Father's the same way.
Yeah. So the times I've cried out to God and I've wept, I've gone on my knees and prayed, and it's like nothing is happening.
Yeah.
Nothing is happening. And I guess every guy or human perhaps will find themselves in that place where you believe in God or you don't. But at least if I should even just narrow it down to people who do believe in God, you it all just seems lost, hopeless. And you see, the assurance that we can have in him is that he's actually there. He's actually with us in the process. But many times it's our heart, it's our minds. There are things that he's still working in us and through us.
Yep.
And I think for him, that's perhaps the most important thing. And for guys who are in that place where they're struggling, whether it's work or it's relationship, the assurance is that God is actually with you. And our hope for Christians, when I say, Ray, I hope to see you tomorrow, that means that, well, perhaps I'll see you, I may not see you. But when we say we have hope in Christ Jesus our Lord, it's a confident expectation of something good, that he'll do good by us, that he's actually going to come to our aid. That's the hope that we have in it. It's a hope that does not fail. So in the challenges, in the difficulties, it's us trying to find, where is God in this? What is he doing? What does he want me to learn? Is it just a season? Is it a season of difficulty? And many times, because we're actually on the right path, we'll face opposition. Because you want to do good by your family. Now, guess what? Marriage and staying in marriage is not man's idea. Marriage was actually God's idea. So just because you want to do, and this applies to anyone, whether you're a Christian or you're not, just because you want to be in your marriage, you're going to face opposition,
Mm-hmm.
because that's a godly thing.
Mm-hmm.
It's a man and woman being together in the context of family, raising their children. Now, there's one who is not, whose design is to destroy marriages. So he's going to come after you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to earn a living to provide for your family. That's a godly thing.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes you are facing the challenges because you're actually on the right path.
That's
Yep.
right. That's good.
Yeah.
And it's not always because we are being disobedient or
Mhm.
we are off.
Mm.
But other times, so for me, it's also discerning where God is,
Mhm.
what God is saying, what season of life am I in? Because that also helps us to navigate the difficulties in the life issues and challenges that we go through.
Yeah. Oh, that's good.
That
That's
is.
good.
Pastor Laud, I think that ties it up pretty well.
Yeah, it does.
Can't thank you enough for taking time to visit and talk through. Loved hearing your story and loved the tidbits of wisdom you dropped in on it too. So
Thanks for flying all the way from Africa just for the podcast.
Yeah, they're just coming in just for this. I mean, turn around and fly home. So
Oh, for real.
I know.
I'll do that.
well, well, we love you and we are praying for you. And I will be back in Ghana if I have anything to say about it soon. So and I'll see if I can drag Rick along with me. So
Yeah.
That'll be
I'd
great.
love to. That'd be fun. I'm excited about the rice, the Nigerian rice.
No, careful. Careful.
See, now you're picking a fight.
Careful. I want to make your landing in Accra very smooth.
Yeah, there we go. Awesome. Well,
Thanks for the opportunity to be on the podcast.
absolutely, man. I'm glad to have you. Well, appreciate all y'all for joining us. Be sure to catch us on the next one. Also, be sure to share this. It's probably one of the best ways to help us. And on top of that, if you wouldn't mind, click and subscribe wherever you're listening to this podcast. That'd be awesome. This really helps us out. But again, we appreciate you for joining us. We'll talk to you in the next one.